Hollister t-shirt that was too tight, and some ripped Abercrombie jeans that didn't fit your older brother anymore. In the late 90s, music was full of super polished pop music. Think Britney Spears, NSYNC, and audiences were waiting for something that was more authentic and just real. This is when artists like John Mayer, Michelle Branch, Jack Johnson, Jason Mraz, and Norah Jones started to appear. Sure, there were singer-songwriters who inspired this wave during the late 90s, like Dave Matthews, Natalie Imbruglia, the Goo Goo Dolls, but it wasn't until about 2001 to say 2003 that the singer-songwriter exploded. The world was under attack in 2001 because of the devastation that took place on 9/11. That created a cultural theme for the world to crave music that was more stripped down and vulnerable. Not to mention the music business was changing. With the growth of Napster and music pirating, labels couldn't keep up with the fast-paced changes that were happening.
What the hell do you think you're doing, man?
Holy crap! Do you know who you are? You're freaking Lars Ulrich from Metallica! I love everything you do! Well, except for that bad show you hosted.
You know what? Maybe I wouldn't have to whore myself out if you kids didn't steal my music.
This led to the rise of bedroom music, an acoustic, piano, vocal, the life and hardship to create raw and relatable songs, and it didn't require a big fancy over-the-top production to connect anymore. It was cheaper to organize, record, and open mics and coffee shop culture was just in. Hollister t-shirt that was too tight, and some ripped Abercrombie jeans that didn't fit your older brother anymore. While all this was happening, some TV shows were becoming cultural phenomenons, like One Tree Hill with the theme song from Gavin DeGraw, I Don't Wanna Be. Grey's Anatomy later featured the phrase song, How to Save a Life. Sure, there were singer-songwriters who inspired this wave during the late 90s, such as the Dave Matthews Band, Natalie Imbruglia, the Goo Goo Dolls. The OC had California by Phantom Planet. Followed by big reality shows like Laguna Beach, then The Hills, with theme songs like Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield. And let me know in the comments some other songs and TV shows that I'm probably leaving out. By 2004, singer-songwriters were in full swing. Ryan Cabrera, Teddy Geiger, Regina Spektor, who was pushing on indie. The singer-songwriter genre, feel, and style, it was everywhere. It was very much a representation of white middle-class suburbia, for better or for worse. With the rise of early 2000s hip-hop, you would find the singer-songwriter influence find its way into songs like Chris Brown, With You, Mario, Let Me Love You.
You should let me love you. Let me be the one to.
And years before that, Nelly with his hit song, Ride With Me. These songs very much sounded like an acoustic guitar singer-songwriter song with a hip-hop beat under it. And it made for amazing timeless music, as well as a bunch of bands like Matchbox 20, Rob Thomas, Dashboard Confessional, and Jack's Mannequin. Okay, so let's back it up a bit. Because very much like the early 2000s, I rushed past some important moments. Now we're smack in the middle of the time period. Ashlee Simpson had her own show that featured her then boyfriend, Ryan Cabrera, called The Ashlee Simpson Show. Her older sister just had huge success, like her song, With You, which is very much a singer-songwriter-esque song with a 90s Max Martin type breakbeat under it. And she also had her own show, Newlyweds, with his fucking name? Nick Lachey.
Is this chicken what I have, or is this fish?
It was at this time that labels were scrambling to find the next John Mayer, Vanessa Carlton, and that's where you would see artists like Teddy Geiger come out of the woodworks. A&Rs were scouting at local talent shows, showcases, coffee shops, wherever they could find them. And Teddy Geiger was very much a combination of John Mayer and Gavin DeGraw. You could hear in his vocals and the way he would write acoustic songs on the guitar.
I can't believe what is in front of me. The water's rising up.
And Sarah Bareilles was a great artist to follow up Vanessa Carlton. And her smash hit Love Song was what scored the romantic comedy Maid of Honor, featuring Patrick Dempsey. Quick question, why does Patrick Dempsey get to be in all the movies and TV shows with the greatest scores and soundtracks? Let me know in the comments. And one of the greatest career builders for artists of this time was having their music featured in hit TV shows and movies. This level of repetition and exposure made the song's meaning run deeper through the stories and visuals associated with them. I very much think that we're missing this level of connection in the modern day social media. Many companies are cutting corners and having very generic produced music made in order to avoid paying artists big royalty checks and master fees. Not to mention, sometimes they'll just do a buyout and the company itself will be collecting all the money on the song. If you're interested in learning more about music business and how artists get paid from their music, I'll make a whole other video on it, but let me know in the comments if that's of interest to you. And in 2026, it's getting even worse with the generic produced, dumbed down sync music being replaced by AI robots and royalty-free loops from Splice. Think back to Laguna Beach on MTV. Every episode had new bands and artists featured, and they would go as far as having small text on screen to help promote them. And honestly, that's the reason why I know and love Jason Mraz's song, The Remedy. Because it scored one of my favorite scenes in Laguna Beach. Or Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson. It was featured in the premiere episode of season 2, in the hot tub with Steven and Lauren. If you know, you know. It's great songs and production in conjunction with amazing moments in scripted and unscripted television that makes a song last a lifetime. TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram has taken a major part of the promotional aspect that labels used to deem important in the place of creating household names, leaving it up to the artist to find popularity in comparison to a time where talent and great songs were the main objective and labels worked around the clock to find a way to place the music in front of an audience. Bands that's music would have been placed on shows during the monoculture are now falling to the wayside because of how the label's business model has drastically changed. Although I do love the accessibility of modern technology and social media, it has really dumbed down art of mixed media that we once knew to love. For example, some of the biggest shows we know from over the last few years, such as Stranger Things and The Bear, have big budgets for their soundtracks and they play songs from bands like Metallica or artists like Taylor Swift. This benefits the shows and the artist. I do want to point out that the master license fee to pay an artist and band of this caliber could have put on 25 new up-and-coming artists. In the early 2000s, I was obsessed with everything I discussed in this video, and I would get lost in these television shows that their music was the soundtrack to. And I don't know if any of these iconic scenes would have been as impactful if it wasn't for the music that was played under it. And the crossover went both ways. I know nothing great could last forever, but luckily this era lasted longer than most. I believe this was the case because the music was raw and authentic and accessible to kids. If you had a piano, an acoustic guitar, and could sing, you could make this music in your bedroom. And the songs were held to a higher standard because they weren't so focused on flashy production, versus what came right after it, such as EDM, skinny jeans indie, and mumble rap. Even hip hop songs took a turn for the worse. One day we have Nelly dropping Dilemma, and the next day, we got racks on racks on racks. I love all music, and as a graduate of Berklee College of Music who spent his whole life writing songs, the best part of any production is always the song first. So I don't know if we're gonna see a full stripped down acoustic revival, but I sure hope we do. Like I mentioned in other videos, I believe that rock and organic performances are having a big comeback, and this has a lot to do with AI and people being too overproduced and using too many tracks, and people just wanna feel something that's real, raw, and authentic. And I hope that this bleeds into the acoustic singer-songwriters as well, because it's always really nice just to hear Papa Roach, for example, doing Scars stripped in acoustic, and just seeing that side of them.
I tear my heart open, I sew myself shut.
Well, I'd almost put my money on it by 2030, music and visuals is gonna have a boom like we've never seen before. Independent creators are going to be putting indie movies and shows on YouTube, scored by indie artists. Independent creators are going to start uploading indie shows and movies to YouTube, scored by indie artists as well. And as this blows up, the labels are going to follow suit. Well, enough with my rant. My name's Jay Sky. I appreciate everyone for tuning into the video. Singer-songwriter, early 2000s has always been my jam. Let me know in the comments some of your favorite moments. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at JSky Production. And until next week, peace. Fun fact, when I was 11 years old, I submitted to a 9/11 tribute contest, and guess what? I was one of the winners, and I got to go into a recording studio with a real producer and work on my song.